Hey, crypto heads, it's the Goose. We're back.
Oh my gosh.
Welcome back to the Cryptic Paranormal Show. It feels like it's been years, but it's only been, like a month. Decided to take a hiatus to be with our families, enjoy the holidays, do a little work on some mental health, just take a nice little break for a little hiatus.
Oh
Super
shit, we're
excited.
supposed to work on mental health?
Well, I mean, we took a break. We took a break anyways, but whether or not that's all fixed, that's another story for a different day. But we're back and we're super excited. So let's catch up. I mean, Denise, how was your holiday? How was everything?
It's good. I've been really busy for work, which is good.
Yeah. Been seeing all the sales and all the houses you got working.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I had to go shovel a driveway for a house I'm listing today. So
oh, nice.
A 5-minute drive took me 45 to get there. Yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah, you got to do all the grunt work too.
Yeah.
Nice.
What
about you? Yeah.
Why'd you go out there in the middle of a snowstorm? I don't understand. The world got shut down.
Because people still wanted to see the house, and it's my listing, so I had to shovel a path for them to get there and shovel.
No, they did not want to see the house.
Yeah, they did. Real estate does not stop. We're like the post office.
That's true.
I need all these were who needed to see a house out there. Like, what do you mean? Can't you just wait till now?
No. It's a crazy market, Becca. You got to get it quick.
That's true. That's true.
So how the holidays treat you, Heisenberg? Everything good?
Fine.
Man of many words. Awesome. Thank you. He'll tune in when he's got something smart.
I'm here.
You guys are happy you're here.
No, it was good. It was good.
Good. It was good. I had a good time. It was a nice break, but I'm ready to get back and get into the things that make me happy, which this show makes me happy. Talking to all you folks make me happy. And our special guest tonight, Rebecca, having her on the show makes me happy.
You make me happy in your beautiful angel voice.
Oh, geez. Thank you. It's like one of those awkward moments you really don't know how to respond to that. Just like, thank you.
And you take a bow, and I just clap for you.
Thank you. Your voice is pretty damn beautiful to yourself. I enjoy listening to your paranormal karaoke's on TikTok.
Thank you.
You absolutely are welcome.
One day I was like, what is the most random thing that I can do in the ghost world? I'm mostly music with EVPs. I mean, it makes sense. Sound. Right?
Yeah.
In a mind, it makes sense. But I really but it also makes me really happy, and I've just reached a point where it's like, I'm just gonna do what feels good.
There you go.
Exactly.
Yeah. What
mysterious and intriguing, whatever. That was fun for a little while, but then I was like, that's not really all of me. Sure, that part of me is in there somewhere, but it went dormant.
I mean, I love watching you sing to Ice Cream, and I always, I'm like, that was awesome.
So apparently that's a thing. I thought that I was funny that night, but that's a real thing that I do. I didn't know it. I thought and just trolling me, but no. Yeah. Then my sister, you really actually have always done that. I was like, what do you mean? Who does that? Somebody incredibly self-aware. Apparently there are pieces of my life that I'm not incredibly self-aware of. I mean, I guess you could probably attest to this. When you sing and when you've always sung, you don't always recognize when you're doing it.
No.
So apparently that's the thing. But it must be happiness, right? Ice cream is happiness.
Yeah.
So
Right.
Some people say, "Oh, this is so good." Some people say, "Oh, this is so good." Just start singing. Rocky Road.
What the hell's happened to you guys in the last month?
And I'm waiting for Woolie's next paranormal karaoke.
Yes.
Yeah.
Come on, he's in here. Wolver, where are you, buddy? It's your turn. You're up. Your name was called.
Yeah, to be on the show.
You don't have the guts to come on the show.
Yeah.
Oh, calling him out.
I think it's amazing how many people, this is a thing, how many people who are in the paranormal who are also musically inclined. I think it's so fascinating, and I think it has something to do, if we want to get super deep and philosophical for a minute, I think it has to do with energy and like how minds, people who are musically inclined also tend to be incredibly symbolic. So like there's like a thing there. And also it is still random, yes, but trying to get people to join me. I want other people to sing karaoke with me. I'm waiting. Danielle Webb did it. I don't know if y'all saw that one, but like
no,
angel voice who harmonized. Awesome. I literally can't do that to save my life. Like back before my voice broke, I was like actually singing, like, and trying to sing professionally. I was in a studio with this really talented like guy, right? Like this producer guy. And he was like, hey, can you harmonize with your own voice? We laid down like the main track. No. It was the worst thing I had ever heard. And he like didn't even try to be polite about it. He's like, no, you can't.
Now we know.
No.
It's like, oh no, never mind.
So, when Danielle came angel voice and like these harmonies, I was like, how did you do that? Teach me the way.
That's awesome. Back in the day when American Idol first changed their age rules, I just made like the cut, like the high end of the cut, and they had it at Brown Stadium, and I actually went through the whole thing and tried out, spent the night at the stadium.
Awesome.
And I got Nigel's attention, but he just kept walking, and then the Peon producers, which are like the first round, they're like, you should really think about local theater. I'm like, thanks, bye. But I'm like, okay.
It just cracks me up that you went for an American Idol thing.
Right?
I could just imagine you like in front of them.
You also have incredible stage presence. What do you mean? I am so glad. That is a terrible experience. That's an awful experience. I know this is a paranormal show, but like those auditions are like, I have never cried as hard as I did when I walked off of my Nashville Star. Like I don't remember ever being, I've obviously seen a lot of terrible things in my life, but I don't remember ever being as brokenhearted. So I stand in solidarity with you. I think that those shows are meant to be good and sad.
They're looking for a certain thing and certain type of person. And... Yes. You rap with me. I mean, I'm not very. You
Ashley can't rap.
What's that? Oh, Ashley said she can rap with you.
Yeah, Ashley can't rap.
I'm sure. Yes.
Oh, she's gonna rap about you now, Heisenberg. Just so you know.
I know a really like actually talented rapper, and one night we were all drunk on the streets, and like everybody, and she started rapping. It was like one of my favorite memories in life.
Little things just pop up sometimes, you know.
This is me shamelessly soliciting your viewing audience to do paranormal karaoke with me. That's why I came on the show. Like that's
fine. Yeah.
She's making a call.
Yeah.
So,
Call for everybody to start entering your paranormal karaoke snippets. We need to hear everybody's voice. Come
we
together.
Have to say hi to Lincoln. Can we stop and say hi to Lincoln?
Hey, Lincoln.
Hi, Lincoln.
Hey,
Lincoln. Buddy. High five. Here you go.
He's a little punk.
Is he? It's just like his dad then, right?
Yep. It is. That's unfortunate, yes. He's got his mom's drama and my attitude.
Aww.
Poor Kate. She's got to deal with two of you. Oh gosh.
All right. I'm trying to get caught up here. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'm just putting them all up there.
This is a fun time.
It is bad. Becca, is it bad by you? Do you have bad weather?
I couldn't tell you. I haven't left the house in 4 days. Outside, and I was like, meh, it's fine.
Not today.
It is starting to get like super, super icy up here in PA. Western PA. Yeah, I'm over this. I'm like literally over this. Like, I'm not looking forward to bees because I don't like bees, but like, I also don't like ice, and I would rather not feel trapped. Like, you want to be able to go wherever you want to go when you want to go there, you know?
Right.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
And even though 90% of the time I choose to just stay home, I'd like the option if I want to leave. If I would like to go to the office to work, I would like that option.
You know, when Adam and I first started doing the Resident Undead thing way back in the day, this was like prime season for doing investigation. I don't know why. And let's just like run so hot and sweat so much in the summer. And he's like, well, let's just do it in the winter. Now I don't know, but literally like there have been so many scary close calls as a result of filming in like bad winter weather. Like,
oh yeah,
we did Hillview. Oh, Goose, you know.
Yeah.
You know, because you were there
House,
on one of our
House of Wills. Yeah.
Yes.
It dropped like a
Literally.
foot like right before we left. I'm like, holy crap.
Like literally
Yeah.
blizzard. And then like as soon as we got home that night, there was a wreck like 5 minutes behind us, entire interstate shut down.
Oh my gosh.
Ashley Lucky. Turns out Ashley can really drive in the snow. Like
Nice.
Nice.
And then when we filmed at Hillview Manor, it was literally blizzard. Like the Weather Channel said, "Stay home. It's a blizzard." We were like, "Yeah, but like you can't just stop an investigation. You got everything booked. You got the hotels right. Like, so we did it anyway. Like literally so many times. Like I'm pretty sure I got frostbite on my very first investigation with Adam whenever we went to place in Newport, Andover.
Oh, okay.
Freezing, so cold. Penhurst was winter. Like I don't understand what his thing is with winter. Your equipment stops working. Like at some point, batteries stop working. Like your camera can't survive below a certain temperature. Like it's not paranormal. It's just that cold.
Right.
Right.
I think that's the way. I mean, that's the way everybody thinks. It's cold. We don't want to go, so the dates are open. Maybe it was just a scheduling thing. Yeah, I can't handle the cold anymore. I can't do it.
I can't either. I got my heated jacket, but I don't. No, I'm too old, man.
Like if you,
I even got my old man flannel on right now.
I'm not going to dig it out because it'll be embarrassing, and my entire closet will just collapse because all the stuff.
Where'd Rebecca go? Oh my God!
Somebody call for help.
Tell you like my blanket Snuggie that I got at Goodwill. It's like literally like a big hoodie blanket that I wear.
Nice.
But also the bottom of the pile, and I just predicted the future just now, so we're not going to go there.
Dennis wants to know what's a place that you want to investigate but haven't yet.
Oh my gosh, that's a really good question.
It's a very loaded question.
Go back down south. I'd like to do more in Appalachia in the south, specifically in like the hill region.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't yet. I would also like to go back to Penhurst. I would like to reinvestigate Penhurst. I know I've been there, but like I'd like to go back as an adult. Not that I was an adult. I was in my 20s, but I was also basically still
like, yeah. It's a different kind of adult.
Yeah, like I'd like to go to Penhurst and re-experience that with the skill set that I have now and the mindset that I have now. I did not have time. There's a reason that I asked for that episode not to be up online. Adam did a good job editing it. I just also don't feel like it was my best work. So there are some things that I specifically don't have up because there are a lot of things that when I was still still discovering who I am as an investigator, as a psychic, some of the stuff that we did early on, that's part of learning, of course. So it's a beautiful thing to have stuff, but I also don't. There are some moments where I disagree with my approach so much where I'm like, I can't defend myself. I would yell at me if we were in real time. So,
yeah.
But to answer that question, I would love to go back to Penhurst because Penhurst is just such it's devastating, but also like powerful spot.
Oh yeah.
And I'd
Penhurst,
like to go ahead.
Penhurst is no joke.
Yeah, Penhurst was like the game changer for me. That's where I really kind of, for the first time, realized how deep my empathic stuff ran. Like with me, like just I was in a horrible funk for 2 weeks after that. Like I had to work with a psychic I know to like cleanse myself daily just to get out of it. It was horrible, but I loved. I mean, at the same time, I would go back in a heartbeat and do things differently. Maybe I know how to shield myself better from that kind of thing. But
yeah. Well, when we went to Penhurst, I was still really new to the scene. Obviously not new to the paranormal in general, but like to the paranormal scene, which we all know is a very different thing.
Mhm.
When we first went there, I didn't know Adam very well yet. And I didn't know what Penhurst was. And I was like, okay, so we're just going to this big building. And I didn't look it up because at the time, you know, like generally I try to avoid, it's hard now because I'm in the scene. So like if somebody talks, it's like you hear generally what a place is for a lot of this bigger Penhurst now. Of course I know what it is. But at the time I didn't know what it was. And so I don't look places up before I go. And I went in blind, not knowing where I was going. And I was like, when we got there, I was like, oh, this place is like cool. It must be like an old like college campus.
Yeah.
Really bad. And there were a lot of other reasons why I felt bad at the time, but like it's a very complicated, long story. But what I remember most clearly about that investigation is being in one of the buildings, and I looked over in like one of those weird hazy states that I get into when I'm investigating. And I saw this man, very, very thin man, running towards me with bare feet and in a hospital gown. And like the longer I stared, the more I was like, oh my God, I know where we are. Did you bring me to an institution, a mental health facility? And he was like, yeah, you didn't know that? I was like, no.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like for me, it was a really validating moment because I had no idea where I was. You would have thought that based on where I thought that I was with what I saw with my eyes, I would have expected that I was in like, you know, I would have seen a college professor walking by me, like a man with like glasses. If that whole, you know, if the way that I experienced things were based on my mind creating things, it would have been based on that perception. It would have been like, here comes this college professor, and you would have had like a bow tie or something, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And it was a very devastating experience because the experience that I was having with this, like, whether it was a ghost or a residual energy or a symbol that was explaining to me where I was, like, I remember the fear that rolled off of that image too. So like, that was like, I don't even know if we caught that on camera. Like, that's how like organic it was. Like, that's the really big bummer about investigations is so often some of the most intense shit. Oh, am I allowed to say shit? I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
It's fine.
I'll cover my ears.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't listen. I'm so sorry.
You could say whatever you want.
Yeah.
But
this isn't a family show.
I have an invitation to answer that question in a different way, to go back to like Appalachia, where I'm from, because so much the work that I did in the last couple of years was understanding my perception of the paranormal and how it was part of where I came from, and also how, and this gets really deep, of course, and like, but how often our experiences of people cross with our experiences of ghosts. So whether that's philosophical and it's like energy attracts energy, or some of it is that the way that the mind processes both events, memory, trauma, and also ghosts is like all in the same place. I don't know. But a lot of the discovery work that I did in the last, like, I started in 2019, like really digging in a way that I never had before. And I learned a lot about myself in the process, and I learned that a lot of my stuff comes from Appalachia. Like, just the culture in Appalachia is more open to belief in general. And there's a lot of and also, you know, there's a lot of stuff that has happened. Like the region has its own ghosts, and that's not just like hauntings. It's like experiences that people are working actively to heal. And I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen the show that's out about, oh gosh, what's it on? It's on Hulu, about opioids. And so like, just generally the region is haunted by its own past in ways that I would like to see the intersection between that kind of thing, like a place that has died and then started to rise again, and actual ghosts, you know? So Appalachia. So I guess that means, believe it or not, I've never been to Waverly. So I want to go to Waverly. Brushy Mountain Penitentiary. I would love to go there. And then I'd like to go to some of the small places, because a lot of my youth was like not trespassing exactly, but like walking strategically through buildings that were abandoned.
It's a shortcut.
So like rural exploration. What do they call it? Rurex? Rurex.
Rurex.
Yeah. I remember this woman who was my babysitter growing up. Eventually, she moved out of the mobile home park and they bought like this beautiful plot of land. But on this plot of land, there was this abandoned house. And it was one of the first abandoned places I ever walked through. Like so stuck in my memory as like, I would love to go there. Like I believed it was haunted at the time, but I was like, I don't know, 8 or something. So like as go back.
Yeah.
And then anything in Corbin and Whitley County, I would want to go there because that's where my family's from. So I don't know if you guys heard that accent that just came out, but I just recognized it.
Yeah.
Just heard
You can hear it every once in a while.
Yeah, it comes back.
Yeah, it comes back.
At least you expect it. Yeah.
It depends on what I'm talking about. Or if I'm mad, if my accent changes when I'm ticked off, it's time to run.
Right. I grew up in Manaway in Portage County, Ohio, and there's a lot of old abandoned farmhouses that we used to just like walk to and explore because besides the fact there's nothing else to do, it was it was interesting to see little fragments of how other people lived. Now I remember having paranormal experiences, not at those houses. It didn't run back that far for me, but the house that I grew up in, absolutely, there was family there that their children had passed away in a car accident, which I happened to see years before and didn't realize it until I put everything together.
Wow.
I was living in another place. Well, when we first moved to Ohio, there's I just remember a day I was outside riding my bike around the farmhouse and see all these cars, and then I see a life light, and then years later, here I am, my family moving to this other house, and the owners were talking about their kids who passed away in the car accident, and then all of a sudden I put everything together. It was the same kids that were in that first car accident that I witnessed years ago.
Wow.
It was just a weird circle of events.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was weird stuff. Dennis had something he wanted to ask.
Got it.
I know. I was trying to follow it, and then I didn't quite follow what the question was.
I have another question for all of you. What should I do for my house? Jennifer and my mom have both seen shadow figures, also felt cold spots and doors open and close. I have seen things too, but I don't want nothing bad to happen to them.
To your family?
To Jennifer and
to the family? I'm assuming that.
Yeah.
I have a different take on this than a lot of people would have. Like there are some people in this world that can give you cleansing ideas and ways to kick things out. But over the years, I have stopped holding a fear of paranormal in general. I literally spent my entire life terrified of ghosts. And it wasn't, of course, I think that's one of the reasons I got into this in the first place, right? Was to understand it and to understand what I was so afraid of. And when I was a kid, I used to run through our trailer, terrified of the bathroom, terrified of mirrors. I was really, really scared of that stuff. And then my approach to cleansing and stuff now is just to assert my boundary. If I really am something that I feel in my house, I tell it has no choice but to leave. I know that sounds so simple, but it just is true. There's some, I don't know if it's the way the mind works. I don't know if it's physics. I don't know what it is, but I know that I don't have to use tools. I don't have to use bells. I don't have to throw salt. I just fear that stuff anymore. And I think one of the most affirming things that happened to me in the last year was when I started to dig in that way. I grew up in an environment where we believed in evil. We believed that evil was dangerous and that it could kill, and that you needed to protect yourself as much as possible. And this year, when I started to do this whole I'm not going to be scared anymore, at all. I'm not going to let my mind go down these dark paths where I believe that I can be harmed by the invisible. I'm going to make a decision, and I'm going to find out how to make that decision stick. And right after that happened, I was driving to Pittsburgh, and I took a wrong turn. And at the same time, right around the time, so I'm like literally driving. Okay, a 3-hour drive, got somewhere I gotta be. Miss my turn, have no idea how. It's a drive I've done so many times. And I hear my mom's song for me come on the radio. It's like, I hope you dance. I can't remember who sings it. Like, so I hear that come on the radio. It comes on long enough to make me cry because it's a beautiful song, but like not long enough to be more than a few seconds, and then it cuts out. Right? Okay.
Weird. Okay.
Whatever. So, and I'm driving to Pittsburgh, and then I get behind this accident that I missed just by taking a wrong turn. I really believe that. Like, but not just like there are helicopters circling, the interstate is shut down for the rest of the day. Like I sit there for 8 hours like that. Like it was a very serious accident, and I missed it by taking a wrong turn. Now, there was a time when I would have been like superstitious about this. Like, oh my God, like something super, super dark is following me. Like I'm in trouble. But something happened when I started to really understand myself as an individual, understand where I came from, understand how my mind works, and believe in myself again and love myself again. And I was just like, no, obviously love saved me.
Right.
You know, mindset. So I know that sounds very like Disney princess, and I am sorry for that, but I can't exist in a space anymore where we allow ourselves to be scared of things like that. I just can't.
Yeah.
So I know that I can't change everything overnight, but I also know that I can share my own experience and how my mind changed over the years. And that's all I got.
Yeah.
But there are lots of things you can find on Google if you want other things, like physical things you can do that work as symbols to hurt those boundaries. But I just say, this is my space and I'm safe because I said so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
I know
the bad ones have to leave.
Yeah. Like I said,
we know our grandparents are here, probably looking at Lincoln, you know, checking them out and everything. Like we've seen, you know, heard stuff and everything. So I'm like, if you have any bad intentions, you need to get the hell out.
Right.
Yeah, I think I will answer that question in just a second because that's a really good question.
Yeah.
I'll
leave it up.
Yeah, because I'll forget. Yeah. The mind, when it comes to paranormal investigation, I think that a lot of it is, while I believe in ghosts and I believe I've seen some stuff that is just like impossible. I mean, Shelley was there for one of those things. Denise was there like when the radiator literally like tried to attack. But I think that a lot of paranormal investigation is understanding what it means to be human and the human condition. And I think this impulse to be scared of things that are darker is actually much deeper than just being afraid of demons or evil or bad ghosts. I think it's more like we're afraid of death. We're afraid of terrible things happening to us or to the people that we loved. We're afraid of leaving the people that we love. And I think some of that impulse to be afraid of ghosts and to be afraid of evil is really just us expressing a deeply felt fear that we don't have context for, and we won't, because that's part of being human. We don't understand, and we never will. And it's weird, and like, don't get me started on the whole Matrix thing, but like, it's so a lot of that fear is a symbolic fear. And I think that one of the reasons it was so easy for me to overcome my fear was because, not easy, that's not what I meant to say, because that's that one of the reasons it's so easy for me to talk about boundaries now is because I had to explore the depths of that stuff. That's not funny. I'm laughing because it's like really having a hard time articulating myself, and I think it's because I got so wrapped up in TikTok that I did not eat dinner yet. So
we were telling Mike, he said, I haven't got on TikTok yet. And we're just like telling him not to do it because it's like drugs after a while. Just like watching videos at 3:00 in the morning when I should be sleeping.
Yeah, it's true, but it's also really fun. I hated TikTok.
It is fun.
I had to learn TikTok requirement, which is the only reason I'm on it. But then I was like, I get it. I get why people do it now.
Yeah.
I hated it for 6 months. I was like, I don't get it. Nobody watches my videos and I don't watch theirs. I don't like this. Then eventually stop caring so much and you'll have fun. And then it worked.
I love it. I love your TikToks.
Absolutely.
Well, it took I think what I've learned about social media in the last year is that for a long time, we were all pushed towards this impulse to be as perfect as we possibly could be. And then as like a professional creator, I was like, oh my gosh, everything has to be centered, right? Like I can't like cut this video in the wrong place. Everybody will know. And then like just mess it up and it's fine. Like that's how it's supposed to be. Social media was never supposed to be some sort of weird community like where everybody tries to pretend like there's something they're not. That's silly.
Right. Like the Stepford Wives.
Yeah, it's creepy. No more. Now we post slideshows of pictures and we don't even care.
Right.
Right.
No.
I love it.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, let's answer this question, Shelley. I know you're a badass, Becca. Was there ever a place you investigated that you were actually afraid of? If yes, where? And explain if you can. I think I am very good at convincing myself of things that aren't true. And by that, I mean, I'm very good at convincing myself that I'm not scared, but I actually am. And I think that a lot of the places that you'll see me on Resident Undead really were deeply terrifying at like an instinctual level. But I think that my logical brain was like, we're not scared. Why would we be scared? You know? So I would say probably the real actual place where my fear started to subside was Hinsdale. Not because Hinsdale's not scary. Hinsdale's a terrifying place and like a good but that was at the time when I had started to try and understand fear and the paranormal in my mind and the way all of those things intersected in a different way. So I would say actually every place that I went to leading up to that was scary. Now, in my conscious mind, scary, I would say Wells, but that's for other reasons.
Yeah.
What other reasons could there be?
Yeah.
I don't understand what you're talking about.
Ray walking around with a 9mm. I mean, you know.
Let's see. Where are the places I've been? I think Hillview was actually scary to me. It won't look like it on camera. But if I were to look back at the things that my mind was doing and the way that I was processing the space, I would say that was actually really scary to me. And I think it's because Hinsdale is a very good example of what ultimately happens to us as humans if we survive, you know, this whole wildlife thing. Sometimes we just end up in a place where we hope that people come to visit us and we hope that people still love us, but it was a very existentially scary place. And I think that one was scary, but like as for like dark, scary hauntings, no. A lot of the stuff that I think is most scary is just stuff that expresses the problems of being human, like decay, us, and I think that's the stuff that's deeply terrifying. But literally on camera, I don't think anybody's ever really caught like a breakdown other than what happened at the House of Wells. Like I get jumpy sometimes, but as for like, I need to leave. Oh, wait a second. There was one because I was just looking through really old footage. There is an investigation where I actually walk out. I walked out of, what's that place that I'm banned from? I'm not allowed to go back.
St. Augustine?
St. Albans, yes.
Oh, St. Albans.
That deeply terrified me, but I didn't recognize that that's what was happening. I walked off of the investigation. And if you actually watch the investigation, you see baby Becca having some really cool experiences that are also very devastating and sad that line up with potentially the Gina Hall disappearance in that area. Now, at the time, I didn't know anything about Gina Hall. I just knew that I was experiencing all sorts of things, from an urban legend to a woman who disappeared and that people talked about and gossiped about, but nobody was really treating her like she was a real person anymore. She had become like a legend, right? So I remember that experience. And there was also the experience of the Goat Man, which at the time I took very literally because I believed in demons and I believed in monsters in a way that I don't anymore. But I think that my experience of the goat man was scary. But also, the reason I actually ended up walking off of the investigation was a man who had experienced such deep depression that he didn't want to live anymore. And so after that happened, I walked out, and I was watching that and I was like, poor you, baby Becca. Like, I just want to hug you and say I love you, and I am so sorry that you are so scared and confused right now. I think it's a powerful thing to also have on the internet, you know, because like,
Yeah.
It is a different take on paranormal investigation. It's something that you don't see a lot of in the media space. And so
Right.
there's like an honesty there. And there's a lot of people who are in my position now would likely be like, all right, we'll take it down. Nobody needs to see that. We don't want them to see that level of imperfection in what you're doing. And I'm like, no, we do. We do. Because if you see, like, if you watch the trajectory and you watch this person change and you watch this girl who is having these intense psychic experiences change over the years and disagree with herself and fight with herself, like as an adult, like reaching back, baby Becca, you're wrong. You're kind of right, but you're also just like not processing this correctly. I feel like that's a really good thing to have out there. That's why it's still up. But I disagree with myself a lot. Like, just, girl, come on. Like,
I feel like that's good though. Like, if people say that they're the same person they were 10, 20 years ago, then they're not growing as a person.
Yeah. I mean, there's also a really epic shot of me in the subterranean basement, and there's like writing symbols on the wall and drawing an angel. Like, that's pretty epic, dude. Like,
Yeah.
I'd like to talk to that girl for a couple of reasons. I'd like to talk about how cool she is, and I'd also like to be like, honey, that you are expressing what you are experiencing, because you're taking it way too literally right now. Like, recognize that a lot of what you're experiencing as a psychic in this space is incredibly symbolic. And that's to be experienced, but you're taking this literally, and it sounds like you're actually talking to a monster. And that could be, which is not to say that there isn't, like, I do believe that there is a dark energy at St. Albans that has formed into something that a lot of people are experiencing as either a demon or a goat man or a monster. I do believe that. From like a philosophical perspective, I believe there is a residual energy that has like spiraled into the goat man. I just think that baby Becca didn't understand the depth of complexity in paranormal investigation and in being a psychic or medium, etc. Yes, I believe so, because that is who I believe I experienced and walked out not being able to breathe. Now, we weren't in the bowling alley whenever I had that experience, but we had just been. We were in a back room. And I literally walk out this like very like dramatic moment, and then I'm like, I'm just experiencing all of this stuff. Like, no ability to put what I was experiencing into like anything articulate. It was literally just like stuff. Okay, stuff.
Right.
I love baby Becca. Thank you for getting me where I am now. In there, honey.
Stepping stones. We all walk up them. I'm going to go down a rabbit hole with Ashley's comment.
Okay.
How do you feel about using shuffleboards and Ouija boards being used to summon demons?
It's the best way.
Oh, shuffleboards. Wow. I was like, oh, well, okay. Well, I think it's okay to summon demons, and here's why. But then I was like, oh, shuffleboards. Oh, wow. So, I was actually thinking a lot about that, the shuffleboard generalization. Just like, we'll generally speak about it, and we'll generally speak about a book that came out that I disagree with, but that's fine. I was thinking about how incredibly toxic and predatory the paranormal scene can be. And I was trying to put my finger on why so I could articulate it when I got here with these 4 squares. But it's too complicated to really explain all of it. I just think when it comes to a space where you cannot factually prove that ghosts are real, it opens up a space for toxicity. Because you can argue. I can argue with these people until I am blue in the face.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But I can't prove. I can't prove that they're wrong, and I can't prove that I'm wrong. Or I can't prove that they're right. Because we're talking about something invisible with circumstantial evidence. Like, I believe it is so cool. Like, there are so many EVPs that I've heard over the years where I'm like, wow, but I believe in the paranormal. You take that same stuff to a scientist and they're going to be like, nope, nothing. I hear nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think one of the reasons that this scene has gotten so toxic is because we have allowed ourselves to argue amongst ourselves, and there's no way to shut it down. It's like you can just be nicer, like, but you can't say like, well, you're wrong. Oh, well, except for, you know, the actual factual historical evidence, but that's a whole different story when it comes to the actual demon summoning. Nope.
I hope he never goes to a nursing home. He's gonna freak the fuck out. What are all these shuffleboard?
I played with Julie. I played shuffleboard summoning game with Julie at MadCon, and it was the best time.
That's awesome.
It just means you get on a shuffleboard and you dance and you talk to ghosts, and then you see if your EVP recorder happens to pick up more things than usual, or your ghost
okay.
did. So, oh, my dog really.
Oh, it's Proofers. I miss you, Proof.
To the point where he's going to start being like real sassy about it. So hopefully he doesn't bark too much at the neighbors. Go on. Live. Go. He's like, no, it's icy.
Right?
Like, yeah, it is, dude. Of course it is.
My little dogs are loving it. I don't know. They're insane. They go out there and just chase each other nonstop. They won't do what they're supposed to do. They save that for the inside.
Oh my god.
They just want to go out there and run and play, and then when they're too cold, that's when they come back. It's like every 10, 15 minutes. We want to go outside. Go outside.
Cliff is a snow dog, and he doesn't understand that he like needs to chill, but like not in like a like constantly. He comes in, and he's like, I want to go back up.
We were thinking about getting a puppy, and I was like, I think we should wait till spring because I don't want to keep having to carry it out there.
Yeah.
I used to have to pick up Allie, which was a 70-pound Shepherd Husky mix, because she'd stay out there too long, and her paws would get it cold, so I'd have to walk out in the snow and pick her up and carry her back in.
I treat here in about 3 minutes to get him to come back inside, but only because he likes to bark at everything.
Oh.
He's singing paranormal karaoke.
There he is.
Would you ever go looking for or investigating Bigfoot? Sure. Yeah.
Right.
But it's not something that I have like a lot of expertise in. But I do like being out in the middle of nowhere, so that could be fun. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Which is not.
And if you don't see anything, at least you're out enjoying nature, getting a little exercise.
That sounds like the worst.
Right. As long as I'm not huffing and puffing trying to stay with a certain group like that's on a tour of the area. That was rough. I'm like, how long is this thing? How long is this Bigfoot walk? It
was long.
It was like 2.5, 3 miles, and I'm like, that's the most physical activity I had done in like forever. And I'm dying. Like everybody's like, I feel like I was trying to finish like a marathon because everybody's like clapping for me at the end. Like, hey, like, come on, guys.
You're not dead. Good job.
Take a rest, Ray. You need a drink. I'm like,
I tried to walk with him. He's like, go ahead.
And I'm just like, I do better at my own pace. I like if I'm doing it at my own pace and not worrying about staying up with a group or like actually enjoying myself and taking in what I want to take in, I'm cool. I can go and go and go, but when I'm huffing and puffing trying to, what's that?
It was a nice walk.
Yeah. When I'm
Pretty.
trying to like huff and puff with like 30 other people that are following 2 guide leaders around, it's not going to work for me.
You know,
Just go.
looking for was Mothman. That was a good time. Didn't find him, but really enjoyed looking for him.
See, it's just fun.
Yeah.
Normal people call it camping. Okay, let's be real. Let's just
Ah.
go camping. Call it
Yeah.
squatching.
I would love a Bigfoot hoodie with like cute little teddy bear looking Sasquatch on the front.
Would be cute.
Yeah.
That's right, Wooly. We're going squatching, man, soon. I cannot wait for that. We're going to do some squatching. We're going to do some frogging. We're going to do all kinds of legends in the area. The serpent. We're going to do all kinds of cool things. Looking for the UFOs. I'm excited.
Jealous.
I'm not.
Mysteries of the road, buddy. It's coming.
That's fine.
That's
That
exciting.
sounds like nothing that I would like to get into at all.
Oh my gosh.
That's why I didn't invite you.
That's a smart move.
He's okay with ghosts, but he doesn't like Sasquatch. Or
Because he's not
UFOs.
real.
He's not real?
No.
I'm listening.
No, I just made my decision right now.
Okay.
He's not real.
Then what do you
He or
scared of?
she's not real. I'm sorry.
I wanted to get to Jennifer's question because I keep putting it up and then changing it.
Yes, I have. In fact, it's actually like a very common thing for me. I was listening to Tyler Henry, the medium, give a really interesting talk, and I'm going to get it wrong, about liminal spaces and the in-betweens, and something about how the way that the mind relaxes when you're falling asleep. And it is very common for me before an investigation or when I start to focus on, upcoming investigations, for me to be in what Adam calls I think he calls it like the twilight state.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's always like, he'll listen. Like Adam, it's hard to get me sometimes, but like,
no.
If I start to speak when I'm falling asleep, he listens because it's usually something really relevant and really interesting. Mm-hmm. The most, one of the coolest moments of validation was something I actually can't share, kind of a secret, but it was involving Hinsdale and the dream that I had at Hinsdale, and just how specific that dream actually was and how true it was. Mm-hmm. And that happened as I was falling asleep a few days before we went. So, and I had a similar dream that I can think of off the top of my head before our investigation at Indiana State. And I didn't understand it until I got there. It was like this just like melting face portrait thing. And it started to make sense whenever we actually were on the investigation. But like, my mind is so symbolic that sometimes I feel like I'm arguing with myself. Like, can't you just be a little more specific? And then it starts to make sense.
I think one of my favorite times, Becca, I love to learn about how the whole process works for you. And one of the things that stuck out to me was when we were at Madison, and you were saying, I'm seeing skin and bones and blood, but I don't think it's anything gory. I think it's flesh and blood. Like she's saying, he's my flesh and blood or something. And I was like, well, that's kind of a crazy way to symbolize that. But
never this at all. Where were we? That's the thing. Sometimes whenever I have like very accurate visions or those dreams, like hypnagogic states, like I think I said that word wrong, that I forget.
You were drawing at the time. It was in the caretakers at the dining room table, which was the night that the radiator fell off the wall, and also the night that the pen rolled in front of you, as if she was trying to say, like, "Don't stop. I'm still trying to tell you stop."
Oh wow!
That because I was like, "Whoa!" I've been. It's like funny. Like sometimes the laws of physics are like defied, right? Like I'll be in my kitchen, I'll literally, maybe one person, like Adam will be with me, and like a water bottle will go pop, pop. Okay, fine. Or like a cup, pop, like literally, it like fell, but like it jumped, right?
Yeah.
It's when the laws of physics are like defied, and there's an audience. It's like that. It's a good example. It literally popped out and like fell down.
Yeah. right in front of her, because she had been drawing, and writing and doing her Becca thing, and the pen ran out, and so she stopped. She was like, man, I really hate to stop, but whatever. And so we went to get up, and the pen pops out of the pen holder and then falls in front of her and like rolls towards her, as if the person she was talking to was like, wait, I still have more to tell you. It was crazy.
That sounds crazy.
Yeah.
I'm really interested in the way that I described the flesh and blood thing. That is so
because Shelly and I kind of just like looked at each other like, she's seeing skin and blood, and you're like, but I don't think it's like gory. I think it's meant to be like symbolizing flesh and blood. Like, he is my flesh and blood,
and wasn't it like a truly like treacherous, like terrible reason that like it was not cool that they were related?
Yeah,
I do remember this. Oh yeah, that's just the way I find. But also what's interesting about that, like looking back at Becca from however many years ago, like what's also interesting about it is like it still was described in a way that was negative. Like it wasn't like you saw like two family members holding each other, or I saw two family members holding each other. I still saw something that was still negative. It just wasn't like, in my mind, I was like, that's not gore, but it clearly is coming across as something that's not like rainbows and sunshine,
Right.
Yeah. I got a weird mind.
But it works though, that's how the message came across.
Yeah, that's true. And that was, wow, what a fun journey. It's so fun to have all these people on the journey with me, and it's not just me. Like, I like to hear stories back.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool.
Then having a psychic ability, does having it drain your energy? If so, aren't you more susceptible to being possessed? Well, there's a lot to unpack there.
We could break it down.
I'll leave it up for just a second.
Break it down step by step.
We have an hour, and go.
Walk my door here in a few minutes to get my dog in, but okay. So if you had asked me this question 5 years ago, I would have said 100% it does, and it did. There are definitely like videos of me on the internet of like truly looking haggard and like I can barely move. But I'm telling you, something changed with my mindset shift in ways that I believe in energy. I believe that I work with energy. I believe that I give my own energy in order to communicate with the other side. Yes. But what changed, I think, and I can, okay, so, wow, lots to unpack. A few years ago, I worked with, I'm going to say this wrong too. I can see the way it's spelled in my mind. I can't say it right. I worked with a healer out of Florida, very, very talented healer. And he taught me, because I was very, very sick for a very long time. And I don't know if you've probably seen the videos of me where I look very, very skinny. I was not well, like I was unhealthy. And couldn't hold food down. And I was living in Kentucky at the time. And my dad connected me with this healer. And I don't remember a whole lot about the conversations that I had with him. This was long distance healing. But what he said to me is something I'll never forget. He said, you have to stay connected to the source of all energy. And he was a Christian, so in his mind, that source was Jesus Christ, and he had a very specific idea of how that worked. But he said, regardless of your belief system, you have to stay connected to the source of energy. And he explained like the way that your spine in his belief system connected you to that space, and like there were lots of visualizations. But I think what changed for me, and I think the reason that my energy doesn't drain now, is because I no longer work from my own ego. I no longer try to be psychic in order to prove something to myself or prove something to somebody else. I literally do it because it feels right, and because it feels like my mind works the way that it does for a reason, regardless of whether that's I needed to be a creative person, regardless of whether or not it's intuitive. I have just learned to work the way that I do because it feels like it's what I'm supposed to be doing. And like, I don't get too much more mystical because it sounds like kind of out of left field, but I can say that when I started to believe that being connected to something larger than myself was the reason that I was doing everything that I do, like from my job to paranormal investigation to mediumship, when I changed that mindset, I no longer felt drained. I no longer felt exhausted. Sometimes, like, not in my own head. Like, sometimes I do get, like, a little loopy, like I'm drunk, but I'm not. But yeah, that I stopped feeling tired. I stopped feeling exhausted. Like, and that is a very specific feeling. You are working from your own ego as a psychic or a medium, and you start to feel like exhausted. That feeling is very specific. It's like, oh my gosh, my mind is foggy. I feel like I can't lift my hands. Like, that's real. That's a real feeling. But whenever something changed inside of me, that went away. So I think that also leads into, are you more susceptible to being possessed? I think I don't necessarily believe in possession in the way that a lot of investigators do. So there's that. But as for people who are working as investigators, as psychics, because they're trying to learn about themselves, because they're trying to learn about what it means to be human, because they're trying to change something in the world, I think those kinds of people are just, I don't know, this is going to sound really mystical, protected in a way that I don't know how to express otherwise. Like I said, my mindset shift. I was almost in a fatal car accident, and I wasn't. Like, I was seconds away from it. Right. And because something so, it was almost like a lesson, right? In that moment, I was like, I could have died. I could have died today. And I didn't. So I guess that's my perspective on possession too. Like, I guess maybe if possession is real and I am completely wrong, maybe you are more susceptible. But I've been doing this for a while, and whenever something changed for me, I felt safer. I felt less scared. The world opened up in a way that I don't even know if I can express to you. Like, opportunities presented themselves in ways that they never had before. Because suddenly I was, oh my gosh, I feel so emotional right now. Oh, back up. No wine.
Deep breath.
Oh, I guess, yeah, deep breath, because we just got real deep, huh? Oh my goodness. I hope that answers your question. So, I know that it's hard to express things in about spirituality without being. I try to not be specific to any specific spirituality, any specific religion, because I think that gets really, really complicated whenever we as human beings try to define something that is so much larger than us. It just is.
Right.
Oh, and to that point, whenever things specifically come from religious ideas, that's whenever I start to be very careful, because it's very complicated, and there are through lines, right, between lots of different religions. Ghosts are one of those of things that humans have believed in from the beginning of time. But it's when we start to try and define how those things work as human beings that I start to be like, I just don't think we can, guys. Like, I wish we could. I think we all wish that we could. I think people from the beginning of time have wished that we had clear-cut, accurate definitions, but we don't. That's just part of being human.
Right.
It's actually really beautiful.
Yeah.
It is a paranormal show.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, Dennis. We appreciate the questions.
Yeah,
that's why we like the chat option. You guys think of a lot of things that we might not think of during the interview, and just to prove that point, I mean, I could sit here and listen to Becca talk about what she was just talking about for like the whole rest of the show and just be like,
just
wow.
Talk. Yeah.
We would have all made a whole lot of stuff back in the 1960s. Like,
yeah.
No, I mean, I love that, like, kind of outside of the box thinking. It makes more sense to me than these confined rules and boundaries we set with different belief systems.
Yeah. But it is fascinating to see, you'll have religions from all over the world, but they do all have little things that are the same in each one. They might call them different names or whatever, but there's so many things that are the same, and they're all the way across the world back in a time when they didn't have the internet, so they're not hearing it from each other. So that does make you wonder.
Well, yeah. I was reading a really fascinating book. Oh, that's an interesting question. I'll answer that in a minute.
I'll leave it up. Because I'll forget
But
too.
I was reading a book, God, okay, and I lost it. But it was about how, from the very beginning of time, human beings have tried to contextualize their existence with an idea of God. The word God now has different connotations than it, has throughout time. It has different that have been provided for it. So, like, a lot of people who are sitting on this chat right now are probably thinking of like a male figure, but it is much more complicated than that. And it goes back to the beginning of existence before the ideas that we now apply to that idea applied, before we had those narratives, So I do think that is fascinating, because why? What is it about us as human beings that we like literally need to understand why we are here, what we are doing, and what happens next? Is that our egos? Like, what is that? But it's real.
I never think that.
Like, he's not like, what happens when I die? Like, he's not.
Yeah.
Human beings so specific. I don't know why. We're weird.
We spend too much time in our own heads.
Yeah.
Truly, like the tree outside, it's a living entity, right? Do you think how long it's going to keep growing? No, I don't think so. I mean, maybe
or does it compare itself to the other trees and go, oh my gosh, I'm not as good as that tree over there? You know what I mean? Like, there's so many stupid human ideas that just don't even make sense.
Right. But I think there's something to wanting to understand why we are here and wanting to exist beyond this moment in time. And there's something incredibly beautiful about that. It can be very complicated. It's created war, it's created death, it's created like those kinds of things. Those thoughts can be incredibly beautiful, and it means we create things that extend beyond us, and but it can also create greed, and it can create negativity. And I also think that you see that like desperation to be larger than life and to be recognized for being something huge. Like, I think we even see that in the paranormal community. Like, you see people who, and no names, of course, like, and I just think I'm making a sweeping generalization. I'm not calling anybody out, but I do think that you see people start to clash like they do in the entertainment industry, because people want to be recognized for being larger than being human. And I think what's complicated about that is we have allowed ourselves as human beings and paranormal investigators to not recognize how incredibly amazing it actually is to just be here and be human and be alive.
Right.
And it's the most thing,
And at the end of the day, like, yeah, you can have thousands or millions of people who recognize you from being on TV, but I'm going to be honest, I'd rather have a couple dozen people remember that I sat there and made them feel better about themselves one time. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I just don't get it. I don't understand wanting to be famous. I don't understand. Like, I'd rather just be known for being a good person, not for being on TV.
Yeah.
We're like a cultural moment right now that's incredibly dangerous for just like self-esteem and confidence. Of course, with kids, like, like it's scary to be raising children in this environment, because it's like, how do I affirm their sense of self whenever it's being affirmed by all of these outside entities, and they can like become in the millions, and like, say tomorrow you like one of your kids walk up and they were a YouTube star, and then they have comments coming at them like, you suck, you're great, you're awesome, I hate you. Like, what does that do to somebody's self-esteem, know? And then like people are grasping for that because they want to be validated. I think it, I don't know, sound like out in philosophical land again. I swear I'm not a stoner. What is that? Like, why do people want so much to be affirmed by the masses? I don't get it.
Right.
But I think that's because I've done the work to understand what matters to me. And I think a lot of people are living with really deep wounds, like terrible things. Some of it's trauma, some of it's just pain that they carry with them. And they want to hear great, but they want to hear it over and over and over until those wounds go away.
because they don't believe it.
Right. And I think that people often don't even understand that they are wounded. I don't think they understand what they have been through. It's just part of being human. Like, people are mean to each other. People do terrible things to each other. Trauma exists. Bad things happen. And that desperation to make that go away, it's a human thing and it makes sense. But I think when it merges with a space where there's outside recognition, it gets really dangerous.
Yeah.
And it gets bad for humans in general. And I don't think there's a solution. I think as long as the internet is around, as long as there are TVs and stages, people are going to crave that validation, and it's not healthy. It just isn't.
Yeah.
You know?
And not everyone can be happy with themselves on their own. You know, some people are never going to not need that validation. And even if they're not on TV or on the internet, they're still going to seek it in other ways, you know, it's just.
But like, how much does it break your heart? Because I know that it breaks mine to know that there are people out there who need this and they're not getting it. Like, if I were to walk up to somebody on the street and I could feel that they needed someone to say, hey, I think you're great, like, I would say it. But like, it hurts my heart that there are people in the world who desperately need that, and they don't have people in their world who can tell them that you are great, and they need to hear it from you.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's ow. That hurts.
Yeah. But you know what? Honestly, though, there a lot of the people who are seeking the validation from strangers, they probably do have people in their life that do tell them that, but they probably don't believe them. You know, because if I don't feel like I'm great, if I don't feel like I'm pretty, but my husband tells me, "Oh, you're so amazing. You're such a good mom," I'm not going to believe him. It doesn't matter how many times he tells me. So maybe if millions of strangers tell me, I'll feel better. You know.
There is expression in the South, and they say, "She's holding church." it means that's so true that, like, I feel it to my.
Yeah.
And I think it's really unfortunate that in our culture that we are not given the tools to heal each other and heal ourselves. Like, at a massive scale. Of course, there are people that you can talk to who have studied the mind and have studied like how to help people heal, but I think a lot of this just comes from spending, like, I literally dedicated all of COVID to like digging into my brain, and, like, understanding myself and where I came from, and like the really painful stuff and like the beautiful stuff, and like what it had done to my self-esteem, to my mind, to all of that. And then working through that just changed everything for me. But like, I know how hard that work was, you know? And so like, I know that it's not something that everybody is going to do. I mean, it took also so much time and introspection, and it just makes me sad that I can't like hold everybody in my arms and be like, you are beautiful, and life is really like amazing if you can look at it from a different angle.
Right. But some people are just so focused on the negative that it doesn't matter how many times you say it to them, they're not gonna get it. Which is the really sad part, because it's not like something that you could just write an instruction manual for, like, hey, here's how you be happy, or here's how you be positive, or here's how you love yourself, you know. It's just something that each person needs to work on, and sometimes people will go their whole lives and never learn it. But
self-love is a complicated thing too.
It is. It is.
And it's also been trivialized and turned into an industry now, also in a lot of ways. And so like a lot of tools that we think we're being given about like how to feel good are actually just commercial. And so they may not actually be helpful. Yeah. I think also another thing about like finding that way to like nurturing yourself and loving yourself and taking care of you, I think one of the ways that you find your way there is to admit that you don't. And that is something that a lot of people who are experiencing like that self-loathing, that self-hatred, like they don't realize it, you know, like it can be such an unconscious thing that has been like given to you that you don't even realize you've been given. Like for me, like I can speak from experience. I knew that I didn't feel great sometimes, but I didn't know why. And it took me really digging through my self-esteem, how it developed, what it was based in, to like flip it to be like, oh girl, you really don't like yourself that much, but like you didn't even realize it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, a lot of my self-esteem comes from, oh, it's so complicated. But one of the interesting things that I pinpointed that had led to a lower self-esteem was just growing up below the poverty line. But I didn't recognize how many times it had been affirmed in my life that I wasn't worthy of something, anything. But like I didn't realize it, you know? Like it could be something so simple as like, I don't know. Like I feel like I have a very vague memory. I was on free and reduced lunch as a kid, right? And I have a very vague, it's in there somewhere, and I discovered it while I was doing all this work, and of not having paid for my school lunch. I think I was in like the 6th grade. I don't remember how old I was. And it was literally like 50 cents. It was like 45, 50 cents. And I don't know if they wrote it on my hand and sent me home with that, but somehow my parents found out that I had been told I wouldn't get lunch if that didn't get paid. And it's reduced lunch. So it's like literally pennies on the dollar. And if you're the kind of person who is introspective enough, then you recognize that a moment like that might have affirmed, oh, you're only worth 50 cents. And if you don't pay it, you're not even worth that. You know, like little moments, identifying them and recognizing how they actually are, but they can be so embedded in your subconscious. Like, anyway, this does have a full circle to ghost. In case you're like, this girl rambling, doesn't make any sense.
I love it.
A lot of what happens with hauntings and with ghosts and the paranormal is a lot of that is also processed unconsciously. So if you're existing in a space that is incredibly unconscious, you also have to be aware of all the other unconscious, subconscious things that are happening in your mind and your being, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm in a space and I either connect with an energy or a ghost that also had a similar background, I would need to be careful that I'm not like intercrossing my own experience in a way that is making me less accurate. But like, I think it's perfectly okay to say that we haunt ourselves in a lot of ways too, you know?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Did that make sense? Because I feel like I got out at spaces where it's like, what is this girl talking?
I love it.
That makes sense.
No, I'm totally out there too.
Sense.
Yeah.
No, and you know, we do talk about it on the show all the time.
Yeah.
You know, like I talk about Madison, and when you get there, when you pull in that driveway, you better leave all your shit in the road. It doesn't come on the property with you, because if you're holding negativity in your head and that's all you're thinking about, that's what you're going to experience that night. And you know, it's so it is. You create your own haunting a lot of times. If you're in a good mood, if you're in a playful mood, a fun mood, that's what you'll have.
Yeah, but isn't it such a fascinating mirror for like tangible reality too? So like you're going to go into a haunted space, all right, and if you're in a real shitty mood, you're going to attract real shitty energy. Okay. You go into your workplace and you're a jerk to somebody, they might very well be a jerk back, you know?
Right.
So I'm careful with the whole like, I'm careful with that whole like too much positive energy attracts positive energy, because then you can get into a space where that becomes negative too, where it's like, oh, something real bad happened to me, that must mean I'm then like channeling some sort of bad. No, I mean like, but I do think it's I'm really this whole grounded thing lately, y'all. Like we gotta get grounded.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
I think, you know, I also not everybody gets in my mindset. Like not everybody gets where I'm at with the whole paranormal thing. Like in a lot of ways it is easier to stick with the same stuff we've been saying and the same stuff we've been doing for 50, 60 years, you know, since the 70s. I mean, if we want to go all the way back to the spiritualist movement, yeah, but the 70s were a very different kind of resurgence of paranormal investigation. And a lot of what happened in the 60s and 70s define what we do now.
Yeah.
Like the way that they investigated, the cameras, the audio, like basically what we're doing now, it's just that, but like with new technology. And I know that there are some hippies in the 60s and 70s who'd be like, you go girl. Think for yourself. Like your protest hat on, you go marching down the street. That's okay. I mean, that's paranormal space, but I do think that I just disagree with so much that we're doing, and I think that we have to be a little bit more mindful of how what we're doing impacts other people. And like, let me see if I can be more specific and tangible and not just out there. Like, I come from a background that, of course, I've said this already today, that believes in monsters, but like actual monsters, right? Like that becomes a monster that actually can target you and harm you. Okay, so my cultural background. I'm not saying it's right or it's wrong. I'm just saying that I don't personally believe that anymore. However, I spent my life believing that. Okay. And then when I was in college, like I didn't watch paranormal shows. Like it wasn't really my thing until college. That was only because I had a roommate who watched them a lot. And what happens whenever you already are inclined to believe in that kind of thing, and then you see it constantly mirrored against you, right? Those two things collide in a way that can be incredibly unhealthy if the media that you are absorbing is unhealthy media, you know? And like, as somebody who was already afraid of the dark, who already believed in tangible evil that could target and harm me, who already believed that there was something hiding in the mirror that could pop out and get me, I already believed all that stuff. And then I saw it played back at me. But there was no bottom line. There wasn't like, all right, cool, you're scared, and now what? You're scared, and here's what you do, and here's how you feel stronger, and here's why you might be scared. None of that. Of course, it's all about entertainment, right? So the whole point is to scare you like it's a real life horror movie. Well, I'll tell you what, it worked. It worked for years, and I internalized that kind of fear, and it was incredibly harmful. And like, I just think anybody who comes after me who is sitting in that college dorm room watching that TV show, I don't want that cycle to be repeated. And I feel like as somebody who has lived that because of my cultural heritage, which I'm not knocking, I'm just saying that the way that those things collided was incredibly harmful for me. And I don't want that cycle to be perpetuated. And I feel like I have to be very careful to make sure that people don't think that I am in any way saying that what they believe is wrong. I'm saying that there is a responsibility for the people who are putting out media to change the way that they're doing it. I just think at the very least, the people who are putting out paranormal media have to be mindful that there are millions of people who believe it. Like, not like, oh, now I'm scared and I'm going to sleep and I'm going to be like scared of the dark for the night. Like, no. Like, this is their lives. This was this was how I was raised from before I could even speak. So yeah, I think that there's a responsibility there to at least be mindful that like, it's not a joke for sure. It's definitely not just entertainment. And you know?
Yeah.
Well,
And it's hard too, because when these people are watching these shows and everything is negative and everything is, demonic and whatever, I try to explain to people, like, if you go into a place and you're feeling chest pains, okay, let's say you have a show that's immediately a demon attacking you. You're probably possessed already. It's attaching to your heart and you're possessed. But maybe it's just a woman telling you she died of a broken heart. Maybe it's a man who had a heart attack. Maybe it's a weird symbolism for, they're very sad. There's just, I feel like if people are always told that it's demons and they're always told that it's negative, then they forget to know, or they forget to pay attention that there's a million other things that it could be.
Yeah. And I think that there is this impulse to, because people are so afraid of things like demons, to continue to put them out there, because if people are scared of something, they're going to watch it.
Right.
And I think that that's what's happening. And I think that it's just, I think it's dangerous. I know that it's dangerous because I've lived that. It's so hard to explain. Like, so I don't know if you know this about me, but my life, I live in a very different culture now I have a very different life. I've met a lot of very different kinds of people than the ones I grew up with. Both groups of people are incredibly beautiful. However, I've seen both like my Appalachian culture and my culture back in Kentucky. And I've also met people who have no idea what I'm talking about, think that I'm just like out there, have no, like, don't believe in ghosts. Like, if they do, it's kind of like this fun little thing they talk about when they're drunk. Oh, remember that time? Like, something fell off the counter? It was a ghost. Like, you know, those are very people. And I think what sometimes happens is the kinds of people who don't believe or who don't have that immersion in a culture that is so belief driven are the ones who are creating the media for people. And the audience is a belief driven audience. And the people who are creating the media just don't get it. They're just not from that culture. So I'm not saying that either group is wrong. I'm just asking that people be more responsible. That's all. I'm not pointing my finger. I'm not wagging it. I'm just saying, as somebody who is from a belief-driven culture, I can point to points in my life where I was actually harmed by the ideas that collided with my ideas. You know?
Right.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So much sense that I'm like deep in my own thoughts, like thinking about the whole thing. Like, God damn, she's right. Like, my girls always ask me, why don't you watch all the paranormal shows, you know, like you used to? I'm like, for me, it's just because they're all boring. They're all just method. They're all just the same fucking thing.
Just entertainment.
They're all the same. They're all entertainment.
And you know what? I think that's another part that's really hard for me, you know, just from being at the building all the time. Like, don't come in here and act like everything's negative and that there's a demon. Okay, well, there's also a sweet little old lady who wants to tell you about whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I hate that everything gets labeled that way, and it seems like everything's a demon. Well, okay, what about everybody else?
Yeah. Well, speaking of demons and shuffleboards, about, I don't know, years ago, I had an experience that I'm sure nobody around in these here parts have heard of, but I was called out by an investigator who was on the track to fame at the time, and it hurt, but I didn't know why. Because, okay, so basically, everybody knows that I like scribble symbols and like get into my head.
Yeah.
Sometimes in tongues, which is our Appalachian thing. Thank you very much. But also, like, in other different spiritualities.
Pentecostal. Grew up in.
I was raised. I mean, Pentecostal.
Yep.
And yet, in tongues is like something that happens. Okay. So I'm in this space where I'm working as somebody who is occupying a space of spirituality, right? Okay, cool. Doing the whole psychic thing. So I'm speaking in tongues, I'm writing in tongues, whatever. And then, so I leave those things there. And then it automatically says that I am summoning demons. Now, I can see how this might have happened. Because if you go all the way back to the beginning of RU history, there are videos of me specifically being told to summon demons, right? Okay, so that video footage on the internet, I just found it yesterday, and I was like, I can see how somebody who did not know me, never took the time to know me, really actually spoken my name, might have confused baby Becca with adult Becca. And may have been like, all right, well, did it once, we'll do it again. That's clearly what all of this is. Well, I think that I'm having a lot of thoughts right now. Filtering my thoughts.
No filter necessary, but whatever you're comfortable with.
Well, we are still on the internet.
That's true.
I know that it's a safe space, but you never know.
It's out there.
Yeah. I think whenever 3 years ago, my symbol, something that I took very personally, was put on blast on a very public platform. Like, we're talking like there were like PR interviews about how I could have been writing chicken and didn't know I was writing chicken. Like, all right, walk into a Pentecostal church and be like, okay, so this thing that you feel very deeply, this language that you're speaking because you feel like you're praying and you are speaking from God, you're actually just saying chicken. Like, excuse me? But like, at the time, I didn't have the words to say why I was so hurt. and why I just had so many emotions, right?
Mhm.
And then to be told that I had like made it all up, that I'd gone and looked in some fiction book and just copied it. Like, dude, no, I didn't. Like, no, I didn't. Like, if you sit with me, if you ask me questions, I'll say, this is me as an expression of me. It's based on my culture. It's based on who I am. Even trying to summon demons back when I was baby Becca was still an expression of my culture. It was just a kind of a very like rock and roll version of it. Like, I'm mad about it, so now I like do everything that I was told not to do.
Yeah,
That's
you're flexing.
It's an expression of my culture. It was just an opposite expression of my culture. It was still like, I started out thinking that all that stuff was scary and bad, and then had some experiences that were incredibly painful that made me angry. And as a result of being angry at my culture and being angry at where I came from and being angry at people who were criticizing me, I was just like, well, watch me do everything that you tell me I can't do. So summoning demons was still an expression of my culture. Yes, I wouldn't do it now. No, I don't even really believe in demons now. However, to walk into somebody else's personal space and to call them out and then not even do it well, like not even do it with facts, not even bother to ask real questions, and then disrespect somebody's belief system and culture like that, it's just like, pfft. So that's what started this whole spiral of digging into who I was and digging into why I felt the way that I did, how I felt with paranormal. Like all of that stemmed, I really do think it stemmed from being really pissed off. But then it got really personal. So actually I think that a thank you is in order.
Yeah,
like,
I think
my feelings, you know, like you changed my life and didn't even mean to.
Yeah.
Not in a good way. I mean, they didn't mean to change your life in a good way, but that's where it went.
Yeah. Flipping the narrative is like a thing that I like to do.
Flip the script.
Yeah. Like also I can totally understand all of the misunderstandings. Like I get it because I'm also from like, I had very specific ideas that I adhered to, right? That's what I was taught. That is what I believed. So I can see why surface level, no critical thinking, this is what I think, and I'm going to be disrespectful of this culture because my culture is the right culture. You know, like that kind of mindset. I think that's what led to that. But I also think if that had never happened, I would not be where I am now, which is in a very beautiful headspace where like I can be like, it's really, really incredibly rude. Come for me and my culture. However, I get you and thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
Thank you for changing everything about the way that I thought and for helping me to recognize that what I was doing was confusing, not just for me. Yes, it was confusing for me, but it was confusing for other people too, because if I didn't get exactly what I was doing or why I was expressing myself in this way, other people weren't going to. So it's actually great. It's great. I'm saying shuffleboards are awesome and we should all make them.
Yes. Shuffleboards. Now, Mr. Humphreys, I just want to say to you, we're not saying that what you believe is incorrect.
No.
We're talking about Becca, who is our guest, and this is her belief and how she feels and thinks about things. If you believe that demons are real, then demons are real.
And also, I'm not even saying that they're not. I'm just saying I hate that everything gets labeled as that. You know, I don't know.
And I think that's what the general idea of the whole conversation is.
Yeah. It's not
the labeling of specific events and activity as demonic or demons.
It's not even specific events. It's every event in every episode of every show. You know,
I can't take it anymore, man. I can't.
Yeah, I feel like you probably don't.
But also, really, if you say, I have learned this in the last 2 years, if you say something isn't real, or if you express your opinion and it differs from somebody else's opinion, it's divisive. Like people get, because it's the same thing that happened to me, right? Like my feelings were deeply hurt whenever this guy said that I don't know, he said a lot of things, but whenever he basically said that I was evil and summoning demons, like I knew that I wasn't. And I believed differently than him. But it's how I learned, like, you can't when you go against what somebody deeply, innately believes, it's divisive. It just is, which is why this is saying all of these things has definitely gotten me into some conversations that were unpleasant.
Yeah.
But all I can say, that's the world we're in right now, and it's always been like that. Why do you think there are so many different ideologies?
Yeah.
People just generally believe the same thing.
And I think that's why I like this platform, this show that we have, because it gives us as a group an avenue to like express that without feeling like we're going to get some kind of negative blowback on things.
Right.
And generally speaking, we have guests on that I think kind of are open-minded just like we are and feel the same. You know what I mean? It's just we have people that are nothing but love on this show.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't know. How dare anyone hurt Beck? I know, right, Wooly? It's like,
well, I was thinking about like how specifically in the paranormal space I have so many different, and this is another reason why I had to stop listening to what people said and thought of me. Specifically in this world, people have such strong opinions. They either love Becca, like they love, like they're talking about me, and like I don't refer to myself in the third person. They either love, or they like.
She tried. It's fun.
I do it all the time.
The Goose says.
Yeah.
Michael's getting angry.
Uh-oh.
Why? And I think it's because people specifically in this space, they often form opinions before they get to know a person. And a lot of the people who have formed opinions of me over the years have just never met me. All they see is an edited version of me for 1 hour of my life, right? Well, it was more than 1 hour of my life, but it was an hour of their life.
Right.
Side of my life. But also I've learned that as somebody who is deeply empathetic, people experience other people the way that they want to.
Right.
So like, regardless of whether they're consciously doing it or not, if people who do not feel good about themselves often will find a reason to hate people who for some reason, like something about me hurts them. Like I don't know what, maybe I look like somebody that was mean to them. Maybe something I said deeply offended something that was like deep seated and they don't even recognize it. I don't know. But I definitely have like only in this world, that in high school, have I so many people who like have such incredibly strong opinions of like love or hate. It's weird. It's weird. I don't like it. Like in my normal life, I just maybe it's because in my normal life I'm not in like a space that's kind of like entertainment, right? Also, like there's the whole social media thing and there's the YouTube thing, and like in my real, like the people who are in my circle are people who I know, and I,
yeah, right.
Maybe you only people in your real circle, like people that you know. Maybe those people like you can, they love you, but like in a space like social media or in a space like YouTube, like there are amazing people who I have met who watch the investigations, who just like are amazing and supportive. But then there are some haters. Like there's this one guy who gets on every single time just to say something negative. Like, dude, why?
I don't understand people like that.
Like, don't watch if you don't like
they just
it.
they're trolls. I mean, that's why
Right.
they're called trolls.
That's
for
what
a reason. They have nothing better to do than scroll through things.
It's
who can I screw with today? I mean, that's all they have in their life.
That's such a terrible existence, honestly. Like, I'm not even saying that to be dramatic. Like, I cannot imagine living my life so angry and so full of hate. Like,
somebody needs to tell them, "Hi, Patty." Somebody needs to tell them that they should love, that they deserve love.
Right.
Yeah, and that they don't have people in order to get attention. That like literally, like, I'm sorry that you're going through something, but I can't say I love you because I don't know you, but I generally love humans.
Right.
I love human beings, and I hope that we can help those people to stop being trolls.
Right. Like,
I just
find a hobby.
guess I'm I guess I'm overly pessimistic that I don't think that'll ever happen. As long as social media exists, there's going to be a shield for people like that to hide behind, and
That's
just
true.
be evil.
Back in
That's
the Bible,
true.
didn't like somebody, they put them on stage and they threw fruit at them. So like generally humans just mean to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I have been thinking so much about especially since I was like looking at that old footage like a couple of days ago. I was just like, it's so interesting how much we react as people and don't recognize that we are reacting as people. Like before I got really deep into the paranormal, somebody that I really, really thought should love me just innately did things that made me think that that person didn't, right? And specifically called me dark and specifically called me evil, like did things that hurt, but I was a kid, so I didn't know that they hurt. I just knew that that person disagreed with me and I was mad about it. But as an adult, if I look back at little baby Becca and being wild, all rock and roll and shit, like I can see how that criticism was internalized in a way that was incredibly harmful and then led to summoning demons as Saddamsville or however you, like I can see how that happened because I understand psychology and I understand like how other people work. And only recently was I like, all right, well I can break everybody else down, let me break myself down. And I was like, oh baby Becca, I'm so sorry, I love you, and it's okay that you summoned demons. I don't think effectively. I think what you actually were doing was walking into a space where terrible things had happened. Okay, deal. Terrible things that had happened that absolutely. So I'm rambling. That is it. How do you say it? Saddamsville or Saddamsville? Because Adam says Saddamsville, but I know that it's wrong. Saddamsville Rectory?
Well, I say Saddamsville, so.
Okay.
I say
But that's because
Saddamsville.
I listened to Adam say it, so I don't know.
So generally the rectory, right? We know that there was a terrible, terrible, consistent crime that happened in that rectory that hurt people, right? We know that innocence was like hurt in that time, right? We know that happened. And as an adult, looking back, I can say that I don't believe demons were there. What I think was there was terrible pieces of humanity, people who harm other people. And I think that as human beings, we want to define those terrible pieces of like us as a larger entity as something that we're not a part of, right? And we, of course we're not a part of that.
Right.
As a human, there are multiple other humans, and some of those humans do terrible things, right? And I think that our impulse is often to define evil with something that we are distant from. So,
I mean, that makes sense. Like, that's so evil, it can't be human.
Right. I don't want it to be, because if it says something about me, or does it say something about somebody that I love, or something else that I have experienced? And like I said, I believe in dark energy. I have experienced some things that were just like real bad, right? But I also can break it down from a psychological perspective, and I can view it differently. And I can say that doing that has been much healthier than walking around believing that monsters can get you. And monsters can get you, but they're human.
Right.
And like defining that differently for myself was just the healthier way to go. It just was. It's easier. It would have been easier to just stick with my, what I knew. But
right.
I like being here.
Good. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I would hate for you to say, I hate being here. It's such a waste of my time.
Yeah, what am I doing?
Heisenberg stinks.
Oh, Wooly. But Wooly, I also feel like you've had some scary experiences, like Monroe House. I'm going to go back and do Monroe House too. Because I was still in a space where I feel like I didn't understand what I was doing in the same way that I do now. I'd love back. And Wooly was there for Monroe House. Basically, I just kind of want to go back and repeat all of them, like before him, to see how different I am now and how much I've grown as a result, of course, of immersing myself in the paranormal world. Like, I'm not saying I just woke up one day and suddenly I like knew things. Like, I had to go through the school of hard knocks in order to learn about me and learn about paranormal, what I thought of the paranormal. Of course, I'm not the defined. There's so many people that are a part of this world. I'm not saying I'm right about everything. I'm probably wrong about half of it, but and I
think we're all wrong by at least half of it.
Right.
I'm not.
Yeah, you're right all the time, man. I forgot.
All the time.
As an intuitive, all I can do is do what feels right. You know, and I can say that for many years I didn't trust my gut, and I reacted more than I reacted to my environment and things that I was going through more than I reacted to what felt right.
Right.
Because in so many ways, I was so hurt and I was so broken in a lot of ways that I was so reactive that you see that in my work. You can see those moments where I was incredibly angsty and basically like a 16-year-old, black hair, like mad. I did have black hair. I dyed my hair black in college.
Black hair.
It's beautiful. I'm blonde and I should not have dyed my hair black.
I dyed my hair green back in the high school days.
I used to be blonde.
Before it was cool.
In a lot of ways, I was just an angsty, like, young person, like, trying to find myself. And you see that in my work, you know? So I'm glad that I was able to be angsty for the world to see, but also so grateful that I was able to get to the other side of that angst, to understand how much of what I was experiencing was reactions and how much of it could have been different. And I'm glad that I can look back and be like, baby Becca, we got some stuff to talk.
Well, even I mean, I'm going to be honest. I've been watching Resident Undead since its inception, pretty much, since like the early like frat boy days, if you understand my meaning. And I've seen Adam grow and you guys grow so much just in the last couple of seasons, you know, and then adding like Wooly and the rest of the crew. It's just the show is mind blowing now, and it's weird. It's crazy because I felt like I've seen you guys grow, like all of you've just grown up so much, and I'm like, and I felt like I've grown with you because I mean I watch your progression and I'm like, this is awesome. It's not something you see. I mean, you watch other shows and other YouTube series, it's the same formula every time. Nothing changes, but you guys learn and you take what you learn to the next episode. And you have a different angle on the next episode of how you approach things. You know, and then I don't know. I love Resident Undead, and I always felt like I was part of that family, just sitting here watching you through the screen and watching you guys grow up. It's been pretty cool.
That's so beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm gonna make her cry. God. Wooly. Oh, frat, are you the good old days? Tie them up with chains in the basement. Right, exactly.
That was a thing. And whenever Adam tried to tell me that he was going to tie me up, I was like, only whenever we can tie you up too, sir.
Yeah, exactly.
But he's the only one good at holding the camera, so you can't do that.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I guess now we do those like saran wrap experiments. So I guess he kind of got what he wanted. Right. Because I think he thought that it added a level of terror, and it just, I'm not claustrophobic, so I guess that's why that doesn't scare me. It's more like, okay, now I'm like real stuck in my head because I can't move. But other people are like, oh my gosh, that's terrifying. What are you doing? I don't know. I guess also
snuggled.
Yeah, I'm comfy.
It's cozy.
Like that, like whatever that was, like bad energy. Yeah. Wait, Wooly. I didn't read what Wooly said, but Shelly asked me about aliens.
Oh, Tina asked me about aliens.
Tina, have you ever had an alien experience? Or was that the question? I don't remember. Yes. Have you ever had an alien experience?
I have a weird thought that a lot of that stuff is related and that you can't necessarily distinguish as a psychic medium, I can't distinguish between ghosts and a larger intelligence. Like, I wanted to come back to that question because, like, the answer is I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, I have experiences that, like, obviously, like, sometimes I experience things that I shouldn't have otherwise known. Where does that come from? I don't know. Like, something larger. I mean, remember that guy, the healer that I talked to was like, you have to stay connected to a larger source. Well, what is that source?
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen a green man in my house. I've never met E.T., although I wish I had because he was really cute.
Right.
I did sister around the house with an E.T. doll, and I will never live that down because she's still terrified. But I think that's a really complicated and, like, cool question, because I think when we try to define things that are larger than us, we get it wrong. So the word alien, doesn't it just mean, like, something we aren't able to comprehend, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
right.
So, like, I've never seen a space, but I certainly have had moments where I was, like, able to do things that, like, don't make sense.
Yeah.
Like, you know?
Yeah.
So, I don't know, aliens, maybe.
Oh, sorry, Wooly. Okay. I'm pushing too many buttons at the same time. Denise is. Aliens, ghosts, UFOs.
Yeah.
Oh, look at
It's UAPs now, by the way.
Oh yeah, they're not UFOs.
Unclassified aeronautical phenomenon.
Why?
Because they changed the technical term for it once the government released the footage that they are now saying is an unidentified flying object, but they want to make it, sound more scientific like.
Right.
Yeah.
Rushing me off like Tammy's.
It's just because they don't want to say we saw a UFO.
Yeah.
So they're like, we didn't see a UFO, silly.
Wait, what planet that used to possibly be Earth was it Jupiter? One of them actually could have. Was it Jupiter? One of them could have actually supported human life possibly at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Google that.
Yeah.
I'm sure I have the planet wrong. I don't know which one. Google, like, gets me in the morning. Like, the algorithm keeps trying to figure me out, and it keeps sending every day. It's like we don't know what to do. Like,
I must be a total nerd because mine is always going straight to Star Wars or Marvel something or Bigfoot shit.
Mine is all over the place.
Mine too. I started today for some sort of brain thing, and I was like, what? Like, it just. Yeah, it's like, is country music, punk rock? We don't know. Why is black hair here? Like jean jacket, cowboy boots. Like, we don't get it. Like, my really is just so confused. Like, I keep getting targeted. I'm like, as a marketing professional, like, I feel like
I am your worst nightmare.
Targeting really doesn't know what to do.
My Amazon Music has finally gotten me down though. Like my Amazon Music after like 7 years finally understands me, and it'll play Eminem, and then it'll play a song from Hamilton, and then it'll play Britney Spears, and then it'll play, it's just all over the place. And I'm like, yes, finally. Took you long enough.
But, like, is anybody else freaked out by the fact that AI, like, is trying to pinpoint us like that? Like, that's weird.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah, I mean, I hate
very good at it.
Saying to my wife, "Hey, you know what we need from the store?" And then I go on Facebook and it's like scrolling through, and it's like, okay, that's exactly what we need from the store. My phone is always watching me and listening to me, and my computer. I mean, you can't get away from it.
I know.
No, but
Kate moved her computer into my office today because she was like, I think UH is listening to me.
Yeah. It's your phone too, Kate. You can't get away from it. It's literally everything.
Yeah.
No, my phone is listening to me. I know they can listen.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. Like, I'm not. That is not a ghost. That is the way I have my light plugged in. If you're wondering, like, why is it?
I thought it was demons.
I know it's demons.
Right.
To be fair, I don't want anybody to feel like I am criticizing what they believe. I am only saying what I personally have have come to the conclusion of, based on my research and based on some of the really deep work that I did, and I fully acknowledge that I could be wrong, and I fully acknowledge that belief systems are very personal, and I do not want anybody to ever feel like I am criticizing them, because I am not. I am saying that for me, a belief in demons was incredibly harmful, and it was dangerous. And it wasn't until I unpacked it that I recognized it. And I'm not saying that's true for everybody. I'm saying that for me, this is where I am. And I don't ever want anybody to feel like I'm like thinking of them in any certain kind of way. It literally is just personal for me.
Right.
I'm not trying to change anybody's belief. I'm not trying to say that anybody's belief is wrong. I'm saying that for me, things have changed. And I needed them to.
Right.
So I know that likely, if we were like in a real, like, we were, you know, like how Perez Hilton will go through and clip out like the highlights.
Yeah.
That would have been highlighted out, and this would have been chaos.
Right. But no, I mean, I didn't grow up in Appalachia. I have a lot of background in Appalachia. I have a lot of family in the mountains of Western Pennsylvania. But, you know, I grew up in a Pentecostal church, so I get the whole thing about demons and things that are satanic just being beaten into you as a child. You know, I couldn't play with fucking Transformers because the church said those were demonically possessed robots and you should not play with those.
They changed the cars, Ray. They are demonic.
But they talk. They fucking talk. Yes. But I mean, just silly stuff. I mean, how many times, like, we as kids were brought up in front of the congregation because we got caught doing something most kids do. I mean, playing with toys, playing with certain games. Oh, we need to pray for him because now he's touched with Satan. Or he's been touched by Satan, and we got that beaten into us.
You're like, I just want to play with Megatron.
I know, right? I'm Optimus Prime.
I'm Optimus Prime.
But I mean, no, it's something that sticks with you and it really it changes your mindset on things.
I'm lucky I didn't have to go through that. Like I had nothing like that.
Yeah.
They're just like, do what you want.
We're raised in an environment where the untangible is enough to be fact. It can get really complicated because then it's like, where's the line? Where's the line? Like, what people tell you is fact and what is actually fact and what we can't know for certain. Like, it gets really, at least it did for me. It got really, really complicated for a while.
Yeah.
And it took me looking at the environments I was raised in, unpacking them, understanding them, writing down all of my experiences from the very beginning. Like, literally my first memory of being told that the untangible was real, factual, like something that I could not prove was real. I started the last 3 years. That's what I did. I wrote out every time I remembered something that was related to that. I wrote it down so that I could look at it all holistically as like one beautiful portrait. And one of those things was having a memory of being in a snake handling church when I was 3. For years and years and years, I told my mom I had this memory, and she was like, "That's not real. Like, you were not." And I was like, "No, I was. I remember it." And it wasn't until I started to do this project, I had my mom reach out to somebody in Appalachia to find out if the person I remembered taking me to a church where they handled snakes had been to a snake handling church or was part of one. And because I had this memory and because I was so adamant, we were able to track down that, yes, I did indeed have a relative that I went to church with who had been to snake handling ceremonies. So, like, I went through the incredibly complicated layers of all the things that I had been taught to believe and unpacked them for myself. Not what did people tell you to believe in that moment. Yeah. What do you actually believe as an adult looking back? And look at everything that conflicts. Look at the different things that people said to believe that conflict with what somebody else said to believe. Like, there were so many conflicts. And if you are raised in those environments and you are raised in conflicting ideologies, it can be very confusing and it can be hard, right? But what how I found a ground, like a place where I felt grounded and really, really good about all of that stuff was finding what I took from those experiences that were powerful and tangible. So, for example, from that memory of being in a church where they handled snakes because they believed that they were protected by the power. I don't know how much you know about snake handling. It's definitely not something we can get through in 5 minutes. So
No.
Right.
Human beings are capable of believing that they are larger than life. They are capable of doing things that are larger than life. They are capable of living through incredible things. They're capable of facing danger and overcoming it. Like, I went through and found the more tangible things in those moments that were confusing and took those as my moments of truth. Like, that I had watched people essentially walk through fire and come out on the other side. Regardless of what it was that protected them, something did. You know, so like, yeah, it all comes back to shuffleboards and my near-death experience. That's what it all comes back to.
All roads lead to shuffleboard.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I was thinking about snake
good book
handling
name.
churches at the beginning of the show.
Were you?
Yeah,
Right.
I don't know why.
That's weird.
That moment, like knowing that memory was tangible, changed a lot for me.
Yeah.
And I don't have like it would be easy to form judgments, I think, for a lot of people, but for me, it's not about forming a judgment about what other people believe.
Yeah.
It's about understanding what other people's beliefs led me to and how it affected me and what did I actually think the result of all of those things. And the truth was, I just believe that human beings are beautiful and larger than life and powerful, and we want to extend beyond who we are. We want to leave a mark that is powerful. We want to be able to channel something bigger than us, you know, and we can't. I just think that we can. I just think that defining that is where it comes. So now we have 3 minutes left.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
Becca, tell us about your TikTok.
Oh.
And tell us about where they can find you.
Well, I am on TikTok. You can find TikTok. It's the same username as my IG. It's, I think, you know what it is, Becca KIRSCHBAUM? Becca KIRSCHBAUM? It's on one of those. Find me. And Adam is working on the most recent Resident Undead investigation right now. It was a really powerful experience. It was at College Hill in West Virginia. So if you haven't looked up College Hill, I suggest that you do. Usually whenever I do your show, it's right before MadCon, but MadCon's still pretty far out.
Right.
Yes, it is.
So in the meantime, I'll just be TikToking. Oh, no. Here's my plug. I get to plug something?
Yeah, whatever you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm all psychic right now. What am I going to say?
I don't know.
This is the best show that you've ever been on.
Oh, no, that's true, too. Paranormal karaoke. I want everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Listen, if you don't have an EVP, that's okay. I will find one. You can sing along with me. If you can harmonize, awesome. If you can play an instrument, even better, because I can't. Or if you just want to do your own paranormal karaoke and just tag me in it, it doesn't even have to have an EVP. It doesn't have to have a ghost in it at all. It can just be you singing and just tag me in it because I really enjoy that. Like Goose did today.
It was fun.
That's my paranormal karaoke me.
Paranormal karaoke.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's fun. It's a good release.
Yeah. It feels good, right? It's fun.
Yes, absolutely.
Sing something, right?
No. I don't do it on command. Sorry.
I heard you do.
What's that?
I heard you do.
No, you heard incorrectly.
Oh, goodness.
Over or not cut off.
So real quick, we have an event coming up that we're part of. Potographs Parafest 3.
Oh, yeah.
Out in
That's
Lake
coming up so soon.
Houghton Lake, Michigan. Cannot wait. March 5th. It's going to be a great event. Great people. We love Tim Miley. And
You love dogs.
Right, I was going to say.
So obviously,
I love dogs.
that's all us all night long. So
Mm-hmm.
super excited about that, and that's coming it's right around the corner. So keep an eye out for that. We're going to be trying to do it. I always say we're going to do this, but never seems to go right. We're going to try to do live cut-ins, live interviews with some of the guests
We're
there.
try it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we promised him we're going to give our best shot at doing what we can do. So we're super excited about that, guys, and we want you to check
But
that out.
right? We always try to do the live stuff in the basement of some haunted place.
True. We're
Right.
gonna be in an actual hotel, I believe.
Yeah.
It was a conference room and hopefully some Wi-Fi action happening.
Right,
So.
like heat and Wi-Fi. It'll be so weird.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, it'll be cool. So we're super excited about that. And we got some other things we're working on, but we're gonna need to just roll that out as the time gets nearer, I think. But thank you, Corey. I do want to thank you so much, Rebecca, for being on. It was an amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
I couldn't think of a better return show after a long
Right?
hiatus than having
Yeah.
it on.
Yeah.
It's super, super cool. Thank you so
Yes.
much.
Yeah.
The
I always
pleasure.
love when he comes on.
Yeah.
Yeah. We absolutely adore you, and thank you so much for being here, Crypto Heads. Couldn't think of a better show to have you all back, and the chat room was on fire tonight, and
We missed you guys.
we miss you guys so much.
Yeah.
It feels good to be back and doing things that make us happy every week. So this is our release, and we thank you guys for taking that journey with us. But for now, we will spook you later, Crypto Heads. Have a good weekend. Oh yeah, Denise, do it.
What? Don't be an asshole.
Don't be an asshole.
Don't be an asshole.
We love you guys. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.